actually brought me here to this particular spot where I settled was I was driving across the plains and I saw some eland. So I got out and I started following them and walked up. I came onto this ridge and I looked down and just something inside me said, this is where I'm going to live. This is going to be my new home. And that was the beginning.
Richard Bonham was born in colonial Kenya in 1954. His father was a game warden who introduced him to wildlife from an early age.
It was a very different place then, when I was growing up in the bush with my dad. I can remember my first real memory of being in the bush was actually seeing my father shoot a rhino. I remember being told to climb a tree as he was moving on a rhino that had been causing trouble actually very close to here. And I tried to climb the tree and it was full of ants. So I rushed back and I just grabbed him by the shorts. I must have been so small, and I waited and I heard the bang. And I looked around and I saw this rhino with its legs in the air, kicking, which was a sad moment. It had a big effect on me. Just to give you an indication of the value of ivory in the Far East now, these elephants, they probably make up 300 kilos of ivory. So in the market in the Far East, that's $1.2 million sitting there. This will be worth $60,000 to the poacher. But that's big money. So there's a lot of people who are out there looking for them and hunting them.
For the first 15 years, Richard's conservation work has been carried out pro bono, and he's often invested his own resources in order to make up any shortfalls in the budget.
Back then in the mid-80s, wildlife was generating no money for the local community. They were very much regarded as vermin. So I could see from the beginning that unless wildlife started generating money, we were going to lose them. And then we started spreading and started getting the community on board, buying into conservation. And eventually we came up with a program we call the Predator Compensation Scheme. And it basically stopped the killing overnight. And we're watching the population rebuild now. Yeah. When you were young?
Yeah.
If they killed any of your cows, straight away you go and kill them, huh?
But now, no.
You see value in lions now?
Yeah.
They're not just your enemy?
No. No.
We've seen success in terms of ecotourism playing a major role. Employment is huge. Sponsoring kids through school, they then become role models. And if their education's been sponsored through wildlife, then of course it's a win-win for everybody.
The education programme Richard helped found currently pays over $150,000 a year in school fees to 130 community members.
In order to be successful in addressing conservation issues, it starts with people, which is very much what we do. You've got to start at the grassroots, the people who are living with the wildlife. If we don't get them on side, then the battle's lost. At the moment, we're covering about 2 million acres. In that 2 million acres, we have about 90,000 people. In order to do what we do, we employ about 300 people now, of which 250 are security-related game scouts and support, which again I think is one of the main ingredients of our success. When you think you've got one game scout, he's probably got 15, 20 family members, and they're all feeding him information. Like here, if anybody comes into this ecosystem, any poaching gang, they're in at 7 o'clock in the morning. By 10 o'clock we know they're here. And it's that community policing support that feeds it into our system, and then we're able to react to it. So there's a lot of people who are very dedicated here and are putting a lot into keeping this ecosystem going. Conservation is a really complicated business. The recipe that works here may not work 100 miles away. Wildlife don't recognize international boundaries. So you've got to look at it from an ecosystem approach. But I'm pretty certain our recipe can help turn things around. It's a struggle, especially as it gets bigger and bigger. So there's a lot of work to be done. I think the greatest legacy we could leave here is having the people buy into conservation. Because once they've bought in, then the problem is solved. When I first came here, there wasn't one elephant in this area. If we saw an elephant's track, we used to get excited. Now look at these guys. We've got a 100-pounder over there. And look, they're just totally mellow, totally habituated. That's a legacy that we need, so that my kids, my grandkids can also have those experiences.